Hi, I'm Sidney So, and welcome to my talk on WireMock. So one of the key reasons why I wanted to do this presentation was because in the past I had used a service virtualization tool that was so incredibly difficult to use that although we needed it, we didn't like using it. We didn't like the process of setting it up, and we also didn't feel like the errors that were logged were helpful in troubleshooting. There had to be a better way. So enter WireMock. Now, what is WireMock, you ask? WireMock is a simulator for HTTP-based APIs. It enables you to stay productive when an API you depend on doesn't exist or isn't complete. It supports testing of edge cases in failure modes that the real API won't reliably produce. And because it's fast, it can reduce your build time from hours down to minutes. So that's the official word from the WireMock website. And so I'm going to go over some of the use cases for WireMock. The first thing is that you are a developer or a QA person, but you have no control over the APIs. That means you can't modify them and you have no control over the uptime. So if this APIs go down, you're out of luck. Test accounts that are created, usually created by someone else, and they can quickly change. So you're testing your one scenario, and the next day those same test accounts are changed and testing a different scenario. You need a way to develop against stubs because the real APIs are either rate limited or too expensive to call. And as mentioned in the previous slide, you want to reliably test error cases, or you want to work on new features that need APIs that not have been built out yet. A quick note on installation, and I apologize to all the Java people who are watching this because I did not include the Maven install instructions here, but this is targeted towards the JavaScript developers here. And so this is pretty standard for the NPM website. You can go to the NPM website and search for WireMock standalone. And you can search, you can do an NPM install or yarn add to add the WireMock standalone. And then in your scripts for the package JSON, you would add a start mock, which calls WireMock and uses /mock as a root directory. And so now we are on to our demo. Let me just clear the page here. So on the left side here, I'm going to run start mock, which is my WireMock server. And in case you have not sure, you'll see this big, huge WireMock title right here. And this will be running on port 8080, so localhost 8080. And on the right side, I'll have my web application. Okay, so in my application, I have 3 pages here. So the first one is authentication. Authentication is going to take a name, and when I submit it, the system will tell me if it recognizes the name, and by giving me a greeting. So let's say hello to this person, and it'll show me a picture of the person. Just want to backtrack a little bit and talk about the file structure here. So this is a basic create React app. So anything within the source folder is your basic create React app project. The thing that's new here is mostly this mocking folder. So this mocking folder is the same one that was specified as root directory. So if you didn't, if you specified it as your root directory, this would be automatically created. And so inside the mock folder, these __ files folder and the mappings folder would be automatically created. In the __ files folder, this is where you can put static files, static content to host. So over here, I have examples of just images here. And then in the mappings folder, I have stub mappings, which I'll explain in a second. So we can go to a browser. We can open it up. And the first thing I'll do is open up one.jpg, just for example. And now you can see I have a Boba Kitty here as hosted on my WireMock server. So easy peasy. Okay, so that's this __ files folder here. And then the next thing I want to see is mappings. So the first thing I want to show is hello loop.json. And so this is an example of a stub mapping. So where the first part here is what you use to match against a request. And the second part here is your response in return. So if I get a request that has a method, which is get, has a URL path that is /hello, with a query parameter, which name equals to Luke, I will respond back with the status of 200, JSON body that has a text and an image URL. So the text will just say, hello, Luke, and the image will just be this file here, which is located in my __ files folder here. So that'll be hello kitty Luke Skywalker here. So what does that look like? So if I type in Luke, I hit submit, I can see on the bottom here, I have the greeting, hello Luke, I recognize you, here's your image. On this left side, on the right side here, I can see that it is a get method, get request method. I did hit /hello URL path. And on the bottom here, my query string parameter is named Luke. So those things here all matched up, and that's why this is the response we got back. Now I have something similar for Leia. So I put in Leia, get hello princess, and there she is. So if we look at the code for this, it's very similar to Luke. The only change here is what the name equals to. And it just responds with a different JSON body with a hello princess and a different image. If I want to put in anybody else's name here, I can put in, say, Finn, and it'll tell me this person's not recognized. The status code would be 404, and I'll get this response, which I'll open up. So this response is telling me the request was not matched. You were looking for a person named Finn, but the closest stub I can find is name equals Luke. So you can see no match. This is pretty good for troubleshooting, at least. At least it tells you what you're close to, but what you didn't match up against. So now I can do, what I can do is maybe add my own error handling. So what I'm doing in this net folder, I just have some extra stub mappings. So this is my own created folder outside of the mock folder. Just going to move this hello error into here. And I'm going to just restart my WireMock server. Oops. Okay, so in this file, same thing. So we're going to have a request matching here and response here. So this is going to match against something that has a get method /hello, where the query parameter name matches, and this is a wildcard, so it's going to match anything. So you might be wondering why this would match anything. Why wouldn't Luke fall in here? Luke or Leia fall in here? So the difference here is that we have this priority here, and I've set this as priority 10, whereas in Luke and Leia, I've set as priority 1. So these Luke and Leia will be evaluated first before the error does. So this will be my catch-all if Luke or Leia fails, doesn't match with Luke or Leia. So this will respond back with the response status 404, and it'll have this text, who is, and this is an example of templating. So it takes a handlebar approach with the mustaches, which is a double braces. And so what you pass in as the name in the request will just be echoed back in the response here. So if I type in, as if we typed in Finn, we can see now it'll ask, who is Finn? Give me a 404 error message. And if we look at this response here, we can see that the template tag where we had request.query.name is now replaced with the word Finn, with the name Finn. And same thing, if I put in a different name, it's gonna send back that name replacing the template tag. So those are examples of a query get method where there are query parameters. What I want to do is show an example where we have a post. So I'm going to just change this so that I'm posting using my post function. And if I go back here, now you can see that instead of adding the query parameter here, I am just posting. So here it's post method, there's no query parameter, and the name is actually in the request payload instead. But I am still able to recognize that it's Vader, and I have Kitty Vader here. So what does that look like down here? So this is matching the request method, which is post, URL path, which is hello, and the body pattern matches in the JSON an attribute which has a name which equals Vader. So this is the way it looks like when you post and try to match against the request payload. Okay, so that is authentication. The next thing I want to do is show a list of the Star Wars genealogy. Genealogy being something that has 9 parts. So as we know, Star Wars is a trilogy of trilogies. And you can see over here, I'm trying to call an API 9 times, 1 through 9, and I'm not getting any data back. I'm getting just 500 errors because I don't have any data for it, actually. So, but the data that I do want is coming from Star Wars API. And what is Star Wars API? It's a website that just has data on Star Wars. It's kind of publicly available. So let me just show this here. So swappy.dev /API/films/1. So this is a way of looking at episode 4, title A New Hope. And it's hard to see here, but this is just all the characters for this, all the planets, starships, and etc. All the data for film 1. And this is the API that I'm trying to, I want to get data from. So I can do 2 things. I can either, you can see my tooltip, it says localhost 8080, which is a WireMock server. I can either change that to Star Wars API.dev, or I can use a proxy so that my WireMock server will point to Star Wars API.dev. And so that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to take this proxy file that I created, put in my mappings folder, restart server, and look at the proxy stub mapping here. So this proxy stub mapping, it's really short. It just says match on any method here, so it can be get or post whatsoever, and find this URL pattern where I'm looking for /API/films and anything that follows afterwards. Then respond back with a proxy base URL where the proxy-based URL is starwarsapi.dev. So it's going to go to that website. So, so basically, if I point my traffic to localhost 8080 API/films, this will go to starwarsapi.dev. And so if I refresh this page, I can see I have data coming back for the first 6 films, but not for 7, 8, and 9. So I have only 6 films listed here. So why is that? Now, so if we go to Star Wars API, you can see that this statistics only shows 6 films. So I'm actually getting all the films that they have. So now you can see like this puts you in the real case scenario where you're working on a project and have some APIs which are built out and ready to use, and some APIs which have yet to be created. You're stuck in this middle ground. What do you do? So what you can do now is actually create stub mappings for 7, 8, and 9, which I have done here. So I'm going to take these files, 7. So this is what it looks like. It's just if I hit the URL APIs film/7, this will show me episode 7, The Force Awakens, episode 8, The Last Jedi, and episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to move this in and hit move, restart. Okay, so now if I refresh, I will see 9 films here, and I'm getting 200 back from everything here. And remember again that 1 through 6 is still hitting my proxy, which is going to starwarsapi.dev for the data information. 7, 8, and 9 are looking at my local stub mappings here. So now you're at this point where you're saying to yourself, all right, this is great. I have all the data that I need, but there's this one problem. It's like, what happens if starwarsapi.dev fails? Like if it goes down, then I'm left with just 7, 8, and 9. And what's the chance of that happening? Well, if you look at this website, it'll have this link that says what happened to starwarsapi.co. And you can see in the middle of the page, it says, unfortunately, starwarsapi.co is not maintained anymore, and the service is currently down. This is a branch of Star Wars API that will be supported going forward. So it is a real case scenario where the APIs you are dependent upon are may cease to exist. So what can you do in this case? So again, one solution is that you can go to the website, Star Wars API, and you can start copying and pasting as much as you want. Or you can use what is a WireMock recorder here. So just to show you what WireMock recorder does, I'll take the example of Amazon.com, something that I just found out that Jen really loves. And I'm going to start recording here. So what I'm going to record are stub mappings. So let me just show you. So I'm going to hit record. And right now, if I go to my WireMock server, which is at localhost 8080, it would actually point to Amazon.com. So this is the homepage for Amazon.com. I'm looking at the page, and what I want to look at is outdoor games. Click on outdoor games. I see the outdoor page, and now I want to stop recording. So now it says I've captured 18 stub mappings. And if I look in my mappings folder, I can see a whole bunch of new files that were not there before. If I open up the first one, I can see that in the request, they're in the root of slash URL, that in the body, I am getting doc type HTML, and the rest of this page looks like a server-side rendered HTML page. So, since I'm not using this WireMock recording anymore, I can actually just go to localhost 8080. Now I am playing back the stub mappings that I have recorded. And so I'm looking at this page and it still looks the same. I can't tell a difference. So, how do I tell the difference? Well, I can go to STEM learning here and I click on this and I get an error message. The error message being that I did not record this when I was recording. So I have no copy of this, but I can go to outdoor games and this will show me the page I did record. And so that's working pretty well.
That's really cool.
So thank you, Jen. So now how do I use this for my Star Wars API? Well, now I can target Star Wars API.dev. I can hit record. I can go to my React app. And remember, again, 1 through 6 is hitting the proxy. The proxy is going to Star Wars API.dev. So if I refresh the page, so I'm hitting Star Wars API.dev with those 6 links. I am trying to, so now I can stop recording and I can see now I've captured the 6 stub mappings. And if I look in my mappings folder, now I can see I have API films 1 through 6, and then 7, 8, 9, which is the ones I earlier created. So if I open up, say, films 2, I can see that it's the URL API films 2, and the title is Empire Strikes Back, so which checks out. So now that I have local copies of these stub mappings, I can actually move the proxy JSON here. So move this out. And if I move that out, I will not be pointing to Star Wars API anymore. I can hit refresh and all data is still there. Now, if I delete 2, oops, if I delete 6, restart. I can hit refresh, and I can see that 2 and 6 are missing now. Episode 5, episode 3. So this shows that I am looking at the local stub mapping and not proxying to the Star Wars API dev at all. So that's cool. Now we go to the third and final example here. I'm just going to refresh here. And in the third example, what I have here is a form that takes in a name. I'm going to put in a name. I'm going to click on add, and that name will add to the short list here. So first thing that happens is that /character is called, and in /characters, I am returning a list of 3 names. So Luke, Leia, and Vader. Same thing that's shown down here. I can add Han Solo, and now Han Solo is added to the bottom here. So after the initial load of the list here, of the character list, I see save was called. So Han Solo added to list. And then /character was called again to reload the names of the list. But when you see the /characters, which is the same as the first, you can see that now you got Luke, Leia, Darth Vader, and Han Solo at the end. And remember, this is all just mocking. This is not like live saving of data or whatsoever. So this is kind of cool to see. And so this is an example of stateful behavior. And how does that work? So this is what we did. So we hit /characters. We return 3 names, which is here. And the difference here is that there's 2 more items here, which is scenario name and required scenario state. So in scenario name is, for your scenario, you just give it a name, similar name, so character list, and all the stub mappings that have to do with the same scenario, you give them the same name. So they all have the name character list. And the initial state for scenario state is started. So this is where we start. So required scenario state and started. This will match, and we get the 3 names here. We then called character slash save, where we changed the scenario state. So new scenario state, we changed it to solo added. We said Holland solo was added to a list. And then we call slash characters again. But instead of going back to this original characters -JSON, we're actually calling this one instead, which is slash characters. It matches the same URL, but the required scenario state matches the current state, which is solo added. And in this file, we can see that we're returning 4 names here. So just to show, now if I hit refresh here, you can see that Han Solo is still here. If I click on open a new tab, Han Solo is still here. I can hit refresh 1,000 times here, and Han Solo is sticking like glue here. You know, this is an example of stateful behavior on WireMock. So as long as your WireMock is remembering that Han Solo is there, the state will never change. So now we can say Han Solo remove, and now he's gone from there. We call it delete, and then we call it slash characters. So kind of like what we did before, we're just going in the opposite direction. So we started with solo added, we call it delete, where we stated that the new scenario state is started. And we're saying, so now that the new scenario state is started, now we go back to the original characters.json, which is required scenario state started, and show the 3 names here. So if we go back here, you can see now there's only 3 names, and hitting refresh will just show those 3 names here. Okay, so now go back to present. So now we go back to the slides to finish off. Okay, so just to summarize, we saw that in our authentication example, we went through request matching, where we matched against request query parameters, payloads in the post methods, and we showed what templating was like. So anything that was posted in the request can be echoed back into the response. We showed an example of what proxying was like. So in the Star Wars API films, we pointed our application to WireMock, but WireMock actually redirected traffic to starwarsapi.dev. We then went to recording the playback of Amazon.com. And then we also did the same with Star Wars API films, recording local copies of stub mappings for the films. And lastly, we showed stateful behavior by adding and removing a name from the list. So in summary, WireMock is quick and easy to use. WireMock is putting the control back in your own hands. You know, if you control what gets matched in the request, what the response is back, and you control, you know, if the WireMock is up or not. WireMock is advantageous over plain mocking. You know, again, like we did stateful behavior, we did proxying, and we did recording and playback. These are things that you can't just do in plain mocking. And WireMock is useful in every development project that relies on APIs. And then just resources. I have links for WireMock, the official site, the NPM site for the WireMock standalone, Star Wars API dev, and then the GitHub project, which shows my WireMock Star Wars API project.